When I think back to that night, I still feel a strange shiver run through me. It wasn't the kind of experience that could easily be brushed aside, nor was it something I could ever have predicted. My life, up until that point, had followed a steady rhythm: work, home, family, a small circle of friends, and the occasional gathering. But what my best friend Olivia did that evening, with nothing more than a quiet smile and a folded slip of paper, completely changed the direction of my life in ways I could never have imagined. Olivia and I had known each other since high school. Back then, she was the kind of girl who stood out without even trying: bright eyes, infectious laughter, and a way of making every person feel like they mattered. I was quieter, more reserved, the type who preferred books over parties and deep conversations over small talk. Still, we connected. Over the years, through college and into adulthood, we remained close despite the usual interruptions of jobs, relationships, and the responsibilities that pull people apart. At the time this story begins, I was 28 years old, working as a graphic designer at a small firm in the city. My life wasn't bad, but it felt predictable, maybe even stagnant. I went to work, came home, cooked simple meals, watched shows, read books, and occasionally went out with friends. Olivia, on the other hand, was full of energy and always had something going on. She was the one who dragged me out of my comfort zone when I needed it most. And one Friday evening, when she called and asked if I could meet her at our favorite coffee shop, I had no idea what she was about to pull me into. When I walked into the cafe, Olivia was already there, her hands wrapped around a latte, her face glowing as if she were keeping a wonderful secret. She grinned when she saw me and waved me over. "You're just on time," she said as I sat down across from her. "For what?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. "For this." She slid a small, cream-colored envelope across the table. It wasn't sealed, just folded neatly, my name handwritten across the front. I picked it up slowly, feeling the weight of it, as if something important lay inside. "What's this?" I asked. "A surprise," she said simply, leaning back with that mischievous smile that always made me both curious and nervous. "Just open it." Inside was a single piece of cardstock paper, thick and elegant. In delicate handwriting were the words, "You are invited. Saturday, 7 p.m. Address enclosed. No phones, no excuses. Trust me." I stared at the note, puzzled. "What is this supposed to mean?" "It means you're coming with me tomorrow night," Olivia said. "It's something I can't explain. You just have to experience it." I laughed nervously. "Olivia, you know I don't do well with cryptic invitations. What is this, a prank?" "Not a prank," she assured me. "It's real. And I promise, it's going to change everything. Just trust me on this." There was something in her tone, gentle but firm, that stopped me from pressing further. I wanted to ask 100 questions. Where were we going? Why the secrecy? Why no phones? But I knew Olivia well enough to recognize that she wouldn't give me answers. She thrived on mystery, and she clearly wanted me to step out of my cautious shell. Against my better judgment, I agreed. Saturday came quickly. I spent most of the day torn between excitement and dread. I almost backed out twice, telling myself I had too much work to catch up on, but something about Olivia's insistence made me push forward. By 6:30, I was dressed in simple jeans, a navy blouse, and a jacket, waiting for her outside my apartment. When her car pulled up, I noticed she was dressed a little more formally, a sleek black dress, heels, and a glimmer of anticipation in her eyes. "You look nice," I said as I climbed in. "You'll see why," she replied, her hands gripping the wheel as if she couldn't wait to get going. We drove for about 40 minutes, leaving the bustle of the city behind and winding through quieter streets. Finally, we pulled up to an old but elegant brick building, its windows glowing warmly against the evening sky. People were walking in, all dressed nicely, and I felt suddenly underdressed and out of place. "Olivia, what is this?" I whispered as we stepped out of the car. "You'll see," she repeated, linking her arm through mine. "Just keep an open mind." Inside, the atmosphere was unlike anything I had experienced before. The room was softly lit with candles, the air filled with the hum of quiet conversation and the faint scent of jasmine. People stood in small groups, talking and laughing as if they all knew each other well. At the far end of the room was a long table covered in food and drinks, elegant, but not overwhelming. A woman in her 40s approached us, smiling warmly. "Welcome," she said. "So glad you could join us tonight." "Thank you," Olivia replied confidently, as if she'd been here many times before. I, on the other hand, was still frozen with curiosity. As the evening unfolded, I realized this wasn't just any gathering. It was something more profound. People weren't glued to their phones or distracted by noise. Conversations were deep, meaningful, and vulnerable. I found myself talking to strangers who felt like old friends within minutes. There was a sense of openness, of connection, that I hadn't felt in years. At one point, the host invited everyone to sit in a circle. We were asked to share something personal, something true, without judgment. My heart raced, but when it was my turn, I spoke honestly about feeling stuck in life, about how I had lost my sense of purpose. To my surprise, no one dismissed my words. Instead, people nodded, some even smiled, as if they understood completely. That moment, that raw honesty, lifted a weight I hadn't even realized I was carrying. By the end of the night, I felt transformed. The conversations, the connections, and the vulnerability had unlocked something inside me. I realized how isolated I had become in my routine, how much I had closed myself off from real human connection. When we left, walking back to the car under the stars, I turned to Olivia. "Why didn't you tell me about this before?" I asked. "Because some things can't be explained," she said softly. "You had to feel it. I knew you were ready." I smiled, tears stinging my eyes. "You were right. This really did change everything." That secret invitation marked the beginning of a new chapter in my life. I started saying yes more often, opening myself to new experiences, and seeking out authentic connections. I began to see the world less as a series of obligations and more as a place filled with opportunities for growth and meaning. And it was all because Olivia believed in me enough to hand me that mysterious little envelope. Even now, years later, whenever I find myself retreating into old habits or doubting my path, I think back to that night. One secret invitation, one act of trust, and one friend's unwavering belief in me changed the course of my life forever.